#Morning Live, as well as you can tag me at It's Nanjala on X, as well as at TV_EBN. Our WhatsApp number as well is on your screen. Give us your feedback where you're watching us from, any questions, thoughts, comments perhaps that you have concerning this, and we'll be getting into that. But before then, let's take a look at stories making headlines across the country. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Let's get started. And we'll kick it off with the opposition leader, where Azimio leader Raila Odinga has warned that his party will take action against members of the party ODM who voted in favor of the affordable housing bill tabled by the government. Raila, who was in Homa Bay, urged the locals to support his bid as the chairperson of the African Union. Now, this even as President William Ruto continues his campaign to seek support for his projects. At the same time, leaders from both Central Kenya and Rift Valley belonging to the Kenya Kwanza faction and those of the Azimio faction campaigned for Odinga for the top African Union seat.
Wale ambao wanataka kutoroka kwa chama cha ODM waende kwa vyama vingine, tawarudisha kwa wananchi. Uje mbaje dhurwa.
Hakuna mahali baba anaenda. Baba tabaki umuhumu. Kule akienda kule yeye kutembea tu. Yeye pata ako hapa.
Now, let's also take a look at a different issue that has been on the courts, or at least the corridors of courts, for quite a while now, where opposition to Haiti deployment as former presidential hopeful Maina Njenga has again resisted plans by the government to send Kenyan police to civil strife-torn country of Haiti. This coming just days after the Haitian Prime Minister toured the country to seek the support of the president to restore order to the country.
First and foremost, it was very good that the Haiti Prime Minister came to Kenya. That's what somebody does who is seeking help. So it's very good he came. And I think before we deploy any Kenyan to what we are obviously seeing is a war zone, we ourselves should be on a fact-finding mission. That's why I'm asking President William Ruto to reciprocate the visit of the Haitian Prime Minister. He should go and visit Haiti. And as he visits Haiti, let him assess the situation. Because what we are seeing on TV and in the social media is that is a war zone. There's no peacekeeping there. That is a war zone. And I don't think police are equipped for a war zone. Police are equipped for peacekeeping. Maybe he should not be sending the police, he should be sending our military.
Now, to the war against illicit brews, religious leaders have called for better strategies in the fight against alcohol and drug abuse. Leaders drawn from various religious organizations in Muranga want the government to change tactics used to fight illicit brews and excessive alcoholism in the central region. They noted corruption is fueling the menace, saying liquor licensing bodies are being compromised to issue permits allowing selling of standard liquor or substandard liquor for that matter. The leaders under an umbrella group dubbed Mulika Initiative Forum, which draws members from the National Council of Churches of Kenya and the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, as well as the SUPKEM, have faulted the methods being used to fight alcoholism in the region.
Kama kuna watu wameathiriwa na pombe katika dunia hii leo, ni watu wa Mlima Kenya. Watoto wetu wamekwisha. Na wale wenye kuwamaliza ni ndugu zetu tu ndio wanaleta pombe. Si watu wa kutoka nje, ni ndugu zetu, wana vibali vya serikali, wanasimamiwa na serikali. Hata serikali yenyewe inakunywa saa nyingine, sababu unakuta watu kama ni wa security wakinywa. Sasa unakuta there is no head or tail. Watoto wanakwisha. Watoto wamekuwa mazombies. In every homestead leo hatukosi zombie. Hata tukitengeneza mambo namna gani bila kuangalia huu monster. This is a monster. Kuipiga na kuimaliza, tutakuwa tunafanya kazi moja ambayo kwamba itakuwa haina mwelekeo in future. Future yetu ni kwa watoto wetu wale tunawasomesha. Future yetu ni kwa kizazi hicho, wasichana kwa wavulana wetu. Unawarokota mabarabarani wakiwa walevi kila saa. Mchana jua linawaka. Na si kwamba serikali haina uwezo. Serikali ina uwezo wa kujua pombe hii inatoka wapi, ni nani mwenye kuileta na inalandu wapi, ni nani anaiuza, achukuliwe hatua za kisawasawa. Kama kwa mfano ni baa moja tu iliwaua watoto wetu 23 kwa mpigo, 1 bar walikunywa tu sumu kwa baa moja. Wale ambao kwamba wanakufia vichakani hawaonekani ndio wengi, na kuna msemo ambao kwamba nausikia ukizungumzwa, ili taifa la Wakikuyu tusipochunga, next time huku kutakuwa kuna kizazi.
When you look at the challenge of drugs and substance abuse, this is a menace, and we all agree. And what we are saying, closing the bar are not solutions. The only solution that can lend social cohesion, harmony in the society, is closing the source of those bars. If these second and third generations, they are known where they are being manufactured, let us not castigate the poor Kenyans who are going there to buy kumi, kobole. Let us go to the source and close the source, and then ask. And now this also takes back to the corruption. Who issued the licenses of this? And some of them are getting licenses from the government. So let us know who issued those licenses. We cancel those licenses, and then we close those sources that are producing the second generations.
Now let's take a look at the newspapers and what is making headlines. I do have the Standard, the Daily Nation and the Star. So we'll kick it off with the Star that speaks of tough times for school heads in proposed laws. Tough times for school heads in proposed laws. Well, there's a bill in Parliament called the Basic Education Bill of 2024 that seeks to amend some of the guidelines that, have been followed by school heads previously. When I say school heads, I mean school principals and head teachers, both for primary and for secondary school. So principals have been barred from sending home fee defaulters. In that particular bill, principals have been barred from sending home fee defaulters, and it will be illegal to restrict parents to specific vendors for purchase of school items as well. So, as I've said, this is a bill that is at the floor of the National Assembly. The Basic Education Bill of 2024 basically will be at the center of, sort of putting in check how school heads or school principals or head teachers will be able to govern schools. Now, some of the regulations or at least stipulations in the bill include a 1 million shilling fine or a 3-year jail term for charging tuition fees. Now, the tuition fees has been at the center of debate for a lot of guardians and parents who are decrying schools overcharging school fees. You have to pay for school fees, you have to pay for tuition fees, as a different kitty. You also have to pay for development fees as a different kitty. And so 1 million shilling fine or a 3-year jail term for charging tuition fees. Also, no blocking learners over unpaid school fees. So if your learner has unpaid school fees arrears, you should not block them from accessing education. Some of the other highlights of the education bill also, not restricting parents to one supplier or vendor. That is in terms of school uniforms, for instance. You're saying as parents, you have to go to a particular shop or to purchase from a particular place. So not restricting parents to one supplier or vendor. It's not just about school fees, but any other services that may be required. Also a 5-year jail term or 5 million shillings fine for not taking children to school. We also have no exams before admission of learners to schools. No blocking learners from schools over jobs, religion, or cultural practice. Also, head teachers have been compelled to trace absent learners. If a particular child does not come to school for a period of weeks or months, it is your job as well as the school head to trace where is that learner, as well as establishes post of Educational Director General. So these are some of the highlights of the Basic Education Bill 2024 that will be a bit tough on the side of school heads. That includes head teachers and principals, perhaps perhaps a bit, easier for the parents on the other side. So that is a bill that is at the floor of the National Assembly, will be discussed. If passed at the National Assembly, we'll have to go over to the Senate, discussed as well. If passed, then will be ascended into law by President William Ruto. So tough times for school heads in proposed laws, and that is on the Star. Now let's take a look at the Standard that speaks of dead economies. Now, in every county, there are tales of industries that not only thrive, but served as lifelines for Kenyans. However, many of these have over the years collapsed, and it appears that no single administration has figured out how to attract new major investors while retaining the old players. The country is turning out to be a graveyard for industries, and that is not a good thing to say this morning, but basically gives or paints a picture of what exactly we are dealing with as a country. So dead economies. Now, they've been able to do such a great projection of at least history of the agriculture industry, how it has been performing in the counties, the number of jobs it has created, as well as the manufacturing industry. If you look at agriculture, 10 years ago, or at least 11 for that matter, that is in 2013, the value of output, basically the value of agriculture in the country, was at 125.4 billion shillings. And back then, it had employed about 342,000 people. The number of new jobs was at 342,000. So 10 years later, or 11 years later, we're looking at that growth of the industry at 203.6 billion shillings. So there has been an increase of about 90 billion shillings, but the job scale is where the problem is at. There has been a reduction, and basically no new jobs have been created despite the fact that the industry is growing. So what does that really say? If you look at the manufacturing industry, in 2013, it was at 506.6 billion shillings. 506.6 billion shillings. That is the output of the industry, which had about 279,000 new jobs created. Now, in 2022, the industry has grown to 1.0 trillion shillings, but for this industry, it has recorded an increase of the number of jobs at 352,000. So dead economies, this is a story you can find on page 2 and page 3, which reads a special report, Why Kenya is Graveyard for Industries and Big Companies. It's not just about finding new investors, but also how do you retain investors that are there as at now. Also, monopoly farms making Kenya unattractive and blocking investors. Monopoly farms where it's just one particular company that is offering that service and you cannot find it anywhere else. And so monopoly farms making Kenya unattractive and blocking investors who may feel, there's really nothing for them in the country. So dead economies, that is a special report that is on the Standard newspaper. Also, top of the page, we are watching you, Gachagua allies tell Ruto. We are watching you, Gachagua allies tell Ruto. Now, speaking in Embu, the leaders assured Gachagua of their political allegiance, while others vowed to, quote-unquote, deal with any leader who may disrespect Gachagua on account of Raila's new relation with the government. And this is something my guest in studio will be able to, key in their word on. Just what does this new Raila-Ruto relationship mean? Is there any relationship for that matter? What does this look like? Does it in any way affect the deputy president? Should Gachagua allies have anything to worry about? And so that is the conversation we'll be having. As well as top of the page, hundreds escaped from Haiti prison, the war-torn country to which we are supposed to send about 1,000 soldiers. A move that the court has blocked, said it is unconstitutional. But hundreds escaped from Haiti prison. Instability in the country is something that has got the headlines across the world. Also, shilling continues in good form against the dollar. Kipruto leads clean sweep in Tokyo. Unfortunately, Eliud Kipchoge finishes 10th, as well as 9 bills to anchor national dialogue report. And that is something that also my guest in studio will be able to say or have a word on. And then finally, to the Daily Nation. Senators move to corner governors. Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa is behind the new push by the House. Accountability. Senators and governors are headed for a major clash over a new proposal by the lawmakers to have county chiefs appear before the Senate plenary to answer questions about their counties. And while some county bosses have welcomed the move, others see no reason for it, while MCAs have expressed their opposition. So if we could have that Daily Nation on the screen, there you have it, that speaks on senators' move to corner governors, a story that is on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. Now, there are proposed standing orders which will have 4 parts, including 59A, providing for the process by which a governor responds or provides information. You've got 59B, which will provide for the content of the information sought, which is not related to matters before the select committees of finance and public accounts, as well as Part C, which will provide for the response to information requested by senators, while the D will have provide for action not to be taken in the event of non-attendance of the governors. So inside senators' plan to counter chiefs, this perhaps to follow in the route to which cabinet secretaries now do appear before the Senate every Wednesday. And so senators want county governors as well to appear now. It has received some of the backing from members of the Council of Governors. Those are the governors himself. Others say, it's not really necessary for us to appear. So we'll be taking a look at that as well on accountability. What does this mean for the country's devolved units? Also, Kenya fights 288 billion shillings claim for railway deal in the UK court. The Rift Valley Railways has been sued for a possible breach of contract by 2 companies in what could see the taxpayer part with 288 billion shilling in fine. The development comes as Kenya is locked in a legal battle with the KU Railways Holding Limited, and which is suing the Rift Valley Railways over breach of contract for the construction and management of the over 100-year-old Meter Gauge Railway. And at the center of the court battle is a $2 billion claim by the 2 companies. So that is something we'll also be following up on, as well as parents employ 40% of teachers in school. That is on board of directors. A board of management, actually, teachers that are employed on BOM basis, are 40% of teachers in schools, contrary to the Teacher Service Commission, perhaps, which has at 60%. Also, voters will punish you, Raila tells ODM rebels in Nyanza. So that is the headline on the Daily Nation. Senators move to corner governors. On the Standard, it speaks of dead economies, as the Star speaks of tough times for school heads in proposed laws. So those are your newspapers. Right, so do allow us to take a quick breather, but when we come back, we'll be in studio for that discussion on State of the Nation, particularly on fears over Raila-Ruto relations, over the latest development, after those quite literally pictures that were sent out last week of the 2 leaders who were in Uganda and met Museveni. And so there has been development on really basically from Mount Kenya leaders, particularly those allied to Rigathi Gachagua, who says, no, our eyes are on Ruto, we are watching you. So what are the fears? Is there any relationship for that matter? What is this? Is this handshake 2.0? So that is something we'll be taking a look at, as well as inside senators' plan to corner county chiefs. That is on devolved units accountability, state of devolution, where senators now want to literally grill and question county governors at the floor of the Senate. So that is something we'll also be taking a look at this morning. Stay with us. Our feedback line is open. Send us your feedback on our SMS number as well as on our WhatsApp number. Tag us on X at TV_EBN. The hashtag is Morning Live, as well as on Facebook, where we are live at EBN TV. So Morning Live returns in a bit. Stay with us.
Walisema mnywa maji kwa mkono mmoja,
kiu yake ipo pale pale. Ndiposa tumekuletea wewe mtazamaji wetu
mkono mwingine ili kukata kiu yako na ari yako ya ufahamu.
Naam, ngoma imechezwa mtazamaji, basi hatuna budi kulisakata na kukuletea wewe ufahamu wa kaunti yako,
tukiangazia masuala ya siasa na uongozi,
jamii na itikadi,
maendeleo na changamoto katika kaunti yako. Ungana nami Belinda William,
nami Emmanuel Marwa
kwenye makala ya Gatuzi Langu kila siku ya Jumatatu saa 5:30 hadi saa 6:30.
In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV.
That is the word of the Lord today.
I am so excited that you're here. We're about to have some fun. We're about to laugh. I took my family to Mexico for a week on vacation. The first 2 days were rough because the people there kept calling me a Negro. The third day, I realized they were saying amigo. It was hard.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m.
But we should not be afraid to interpret scripture.
Get to know the story behind the Bible. Why was it written? To whom was it written? And what was happening when it was written? Understand, get to know, learn how to properly interpret the scriptures so that you're not deceived.
In the book of Revelation, and we have started to enter into the happenings because these are things that are going to take place hereafter.
Join Pastor Felix Kevoy and his team as they go through the different books of the Bible and give you the theological interpretation of the same.
At the very introduction of the book of Revelation, the book lays clear what is contained in here.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on The Theology Show, only on EBN, transforming your world.
Walisema mnywa maji kwa mkono mmoja,
kiu yake ipo pale pale, ndiposa tumekuletea wewe mtazamaji wetu
mkono mwingine ili kukata kiu yako na ari yako ya ufahamu.
Naam, ngoma imechezwa mtazamaji, basi hatuna budi kulisakata na kukuletea wewe ufahamu wa kaunti yako,
tukiangazia masuala ya siasa na uongozi,
jamii na itikadi,
maendeleo na changamoto katika kaunti yako. Ungana nami Belinda William,
nami Emmanuel Marwa
kwenye makala ya Gatuzi Langu kila siku ya Jumatatu saa 5:30 hadi saa 6:30.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV.
That is the word of the Lord today.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Yo, I am so excited that you're here. We're about to have some fun. We're about to laugh. I took my family to Mexico for a week on vacation. The first 2 days were rough because the people there kept calling me a Negro. The third day, I realized they were saying amigo, and it was hard.
Hello, praise the Lord. My name is Pastor Joseph Musajawaza of Unfailing Love Ministries. I'm inviting you every Wednesday to join us on our program, Victory Through the Word. In this program, we teach you God's Word. We teach you to find solutions and answers to the struggles of life through the Word of God. Everything you ever go through in life, every pain, every tear, every worry, and every questions that you may ever have in this life, you may not get answers out there, but in God's Word, there are answers and there is a solution. The Bible says that God has exalted His Word above His name. In His Word, there is hope. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but His Word will always remain abide. I encourage you, engage with us as we study together, as you ask your questions, and let your questions be answered as you are built and as you hear God's Word. Our church is located in Umoja, Inako, near Olobon Hotel, just off Sango Stage along Moi Drive, and the court is known as Church Court. Give us a visit and your life will not remain the same. God bless you, and let's meet every Wednesday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. only on EBN television.
This is EBN TV, transforming your world.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m.
But we should not be afraid to interpret scripture.
Get to know the story behind the Bible. Why was it written? To whom was it written? And what was happening when it was written? Understand, get to know, learn how to properly interpret the scriptures so that you're not deceived.
In the book of Revelation, and we have started to enter into the happenings, because these are things that are going to take place hereafter.
Join Pastor Felix Kavoy and his team as they go through the different books of the Bible and give you the theological interpretation of the same.
At the very introduction of the book of Revelation, the book lays clear what is contained in here.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on The Theology Show, only on EBN, transforming your world.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Well, good morning, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Morning Live. It is about 40 minutes past the hour mark, and we would love to now get into the conversations of largely what is making headlines across the newspapers and why this matters to you, because it will one way or the other affect you directly or your county. And so we'll be taking a look at the fears over Raila-Ruto relations. This concerning particularly how the government, or at least the head of state, President William Ruto, seems to be having a tete-a-tete with the opposition leader, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. So that and much more is on this broadcast. Our SMS line is open. Feedback number is 23059. Send us your message as well on our WhatsApp number that will be on your screen in just a bit, as well as watch us live across our social media platforms. Now, my guest is in studio this morning, Leon Harun, who is a political analyst. We're expecting very shortly Mwito Mureithi, a political commentator as well, if he makes it. So karibu sana, we'll get started, Leon.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, let's kick it off with just perhaps one of the headlines that is on the Standard this morning, and that is concerning Mount Kenya region, particularly allies of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who are now telling President William Ruto that we are watching you. This concerns, of course, at the back, or comes on the backdrop of, the AU bid, the government that is, really trying to mobilize campaign mercenaries to campaign for the African Union Commission chairperson bid for Odinga. We're also looking at pictures that cropped up last week of that meeting they had with with the president for Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. And so, why would there be fears over this new relationship, for that matter, that is developing between these two leaders?
Well, Cynthia, once again, thank you for having me.
Right.
Now, about these fears and about the Mount Kenya region, you see, in the previous government, the government of Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila came in and then there was a handshake.
Yeah.
Raila came in, they said through the back door. And these people, these politicians from Mount Kenya are just being fearful. It's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
That is what they are fearing. That Raila may use that AU bid to also join the government, or rather enter the government through the back door, as has always been the case. But in this case, I personally see no need for them to fear, or rather to be fearful about anything. Because as I've always insisted, that Kenyans are locally disunited, but internationally we are very, very united. Yeah. Because you have seen even the people from the Kenya Kwanza government are supporting Raila's AU bid. And I believe at least all Kenyans wish him the best and want him to be the chair of the AUC. That is the AU chairmanship. Now, when we watch the politicians in Embu, majorly the allies of the deputy president, they have fears. They have fears within themselves that Raila will use that opportunity that he has with Ruto, because Ruto has openly endorsed him. Yeah. Openly. Now, the allies of the deputy president are fearful that now the allies of the former premier, the former prime minister, will use that opportunity to also crawl into the government through the back door, and they will have a lot of they will have the government do what they want, or rather the government will do what they want. That is, Ruto will support Raila's AU bid, and that will mean that also in one way or the other, the opposition legislators must also support some Ruto things in parliament. Now you see, that is cause for fears in the Kenya Kwanza government, majorly from the allies of the deputy president. We also them ranting up and down saying that we are watching you, we are watching you, we are watching you. Now when you have a tug of war, it becomes a pull and push between the allies of the deputy president and the allies of the president and those of the former premier. Right. Now, I don't see the cause for fears because Raila is not vying locally. Raila is rather seeking for the chairmanship of the AU, and I believe they should not be worried. Let us all support Raila in this new chase for the AU chairmanship. Right.
The reason why there could be fears, Leon, you say there are no fears, but one of the headlines last week pointed out that this new relationship could see cabinet secretaries that will be, appointed from the opposition, or we could see opposition members that will join the cabinet. And so it's now a question of, these guys are in opposition. Whatever positions that the government or the president will be putting up should be people within government or people that support government, but not people that are anti-government.
That is very true. That is very true. But you see that we might have a cabinet reshuffle that will also be an integrated reshuffle. But I don't see us having supporters of Raila Odinga coming now to be elected in the cabinet. I don't see that. What I see is that we might have a cabinet reshuffle, yes, but the allies of Raila Odinga are not going to be brought into the cabinet. Now, the cause for fears that you illustrate, the cause for fears that you mention, it is a fear that has been there in the past. It's a fear that has happened. It's something, the fear of the past, because we have seen what happened in the previous government. So the allies of the deputy president are praying so hard that it does not happen this time round.
Yeah.
Therefore, should there be a reshuffle that will bring in now the supporters of Raila Odinga to the cabinet, then we are going to have the same thing. We are going to have a repeat of the same thing that happened in the previous government. But I don't think that Ruto is such a fool to make such a blunder right now. But I believe, as we have had severally our deputy president say that this is a government of shares. Mwenye alitu support lazima apate kitu. So when if there comes a point that the president does what is not expected of him by the deputy president, we are going to have a pull and push, a pull and push. And I don't see the people from Mount Kenya relenting. We saw in Embu, they made it clear that we support the deputy president. And we've seen them, a number of them have come out to say that we support the deputy president and that the deputy president is our leader in the Mount Kenya region. That is what they have said. Including those of them that they did not mandate to go back to parliament. They have come back to the camp of the deputy president. They want to speak in one voice. They wanted to say that we are united as Mount Kenya region so that they can bargain for a bigger and better share in this government.
Right. Is it concerning that the fears that are coming about are just from persons within Mount Kenya? Is that something that should be concerning? What about others that supported the government from other regions?
You see, the people from Mount Kenya, they just fear the replacement of Gachagua. The same thing that happened to the now president, William Ruto. That is what they are fearing. We saw that in the previous government, Uhuru Kenyatta brought in Raila Odinga. Yeah. And now they sidelined totally the deputy president. The fears that the people from Mount Kenya are having is that we might have a repeat of the same. But you've seen in the other camps that supported the government, actually, they are openly endorsing and supporting working with Raila Odinga. Openly. I see the fear that is coming from the Mount Kenya region as a fear of the past. That they might be sidelined should now the government work with opposition. That is the fear that they have. But you see, if you look at the background, that is the Rift Valley region. Majorly, they are not even concerned with what is happening. They are not even concerned. They are just saying we are going to endorse Raila Odinga and support his bid for the AU chairmanship. And they are not talking about the local politics. Yeah. It's only the Mount Kenya region that we saw them in embassy saying that we are watching you, we are seeing you, we know our leader. There are things that we don't need doing. We don't need reminding that Gachagua is the leader of the Mount Kenya region. The deputy president is the leader of the Mount Kenya region. What we've seen the people from the Rift Valley region do is stay clear from the local politics. They have stayed away from the local politics and said that we are seeking a continental seat, not a Kenyan seat. Therefore, they have majorly chosen to focus majorly and solely in the international arena, not in the national arena. That's why the people from the Mount Kenya region are a bit worried that this one is taking center stage, whereas we should also be consulted in this and this and this. But the main fear for the people of the Mount Kenya region emanates from the fact that Raila and the President Ruto and met not only Museveni, but several presidents. And they spent a good amount of time with the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. You see, to them, they're wondering, what was it that was spoken there? Now that there were only 3 of them. Yeah. They are wondering, what was it that was spoken there? And since we've seen the opposition attacks on the government relenting. We've not had them shouting up and down. And you also saw the reception of the president in Homa Bay. You saw the reception, right? That is also a clear indicator politically that the Mount Kenya region, the politicians from Mount Kenya region are worried. The reception was a great indicator of that. The politicians are worried and will be worried until there is a clear communication that this is just a matter of international politics, does not concern the Kenyan politics. Not unless the president declares and pronounces himself on that, then the Mount Kenya region will still be worried. Right.
Let's talk about just the nature of the politics in Kenya.
Yes.
Because it is expected that once a particular person ascends into office as president, he should, or she, but in the event, because we've had only his, he should completely cut off any relations with the opposition leader in such a manner that anytime you are supposed to put the two persons together is perhaps, you know, when they are verbally attacking each other or just disagreeing about issues. So the nature of our politics, is it because we are so much used to having, you know, government leaders not at all having any talks with the opposition, and that, you know, it should just be two different people, two different, you know, agendas on the table, but not about, you know, standing in solidarity of a common thing?
Cynthia, that is what we've been accustomed to. But the truth is, the opposition and the government should always work in line, should always work together. But in the politics of our nations, we have a tendency of having the opposition and the government totally standing on the different sides of the table. And you see, when the government begins to talk to the opposition, it is perceived that now they want to have a handshake.
Yeah.
When the opposition calls the government, let us talk, now the government will say they want nusu mkate. Those are the politics of the day in the nation of Kenya. But now that should not be the case. The politicians, or rather the opposition and the government should work in line to ensure the development of the nation. But in our nation currently, should the government speak to the opposition, then it becomes a cause for suspicion. And should the opposition speak to the government, then it becomes a cause for you want something, for you want a share of our government.
Yeah.
But you look at the politics of this nation. That is what we are accustomed to. But in the recent events, we are seeing there's a change. There's a change, and we are heading in the right direction as a nation, where we can have positive criticism of the government, and we can also see the opposition saying, now here you've done something that maybe is good for the nation. Somewhere we can meet and agree as Kenyans. Both politicians and as Kenyans, we can meet and agree and say that this is the right direction we are charting forward for the nation. Yes.
From where you sit, Aaron, if you were to put a name tag on this relation between the head of state and the opposition, what would it be? Is it just, you know, the AU bid only is what has led them to be in that particular position? What name tag would you put over the latest developments that we're seeing between these two leaders?
Suspicious.
Why suspicious?
You see, we've always known that our president is a political mastermind. He's a person who plays not politics of today, but politics of the future. And you saw, after the meeting in Homa Bay, and the roadside address, the president said, I have supported the former premier and I voted for him.
Yeah.
But he has never voted for me. That is what the president said. But the reason I've used the word suspicious is because the president wants to, the president will definitely support Raila, probably to get him out of the local politics and at least have him focusing on the continental politics. And that, now for Raila, it will be suspicious to his supporters, because now our leader has been now given out to the continent of Africa, has been given out. Now who do we have then to replace Raila? And you've seen that battle. You've seen that argument, who should we have, what should happen? That's why I've chosen the word suspicious. And now the suspicious that I'm talking about is what has caused the people of Mount Kenya not to fully trust this deal. Not the people, but the politicians from Mount Kenya not to fully trust this bid. Personally, I see it, the president has a goodwill, but at the same time, he cannot support Raila totally without expecting something in return. And I see the something in return that he expects probably is the backing of Raila come 2027. I don't know. It's just preempting 2027. Yeah. But judging from what he said and the roadside address, that mimi nimempigia kura, yeye hajanipigia kura. Sasa hii 2027 si anipigie kura. That is what the president said. That is what the president said. If I'm supporting you, then in one way or another, support me. And that becomes suspicious to the people of Mount Kenya.
Right.
Yes.
Now, Mount Kenya is a region that over the years has been anti-opposition, or at least anti-Odinga for a long time. It's a region that normally, if you listen to the politics and the campaign and the language, it's always about, you know, do not vote for this man, do not vote for this man. And so they've never really warmed up to Odinga, despite the fact that in 2022 they had you know, deputy or a running mate actually that is from Mount Kenya region, and that's Martha Karua. And they really tried to get to the people, talk to the people, talk them to warm, or at least make them warm up to Odinga, but they never really quite did. So if this is a region that has never warmed up to Odinga, will this bid try to, you know, sort of change their tune about what they speak over Odinga?
Now, before I answer that question, let me get back to before election.
Yeah.
You see, not that Mount Kenya had not warmed up to Raila. What had happened in Mount Kenya region, and I've always insisted, was that when the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was campaigning in both in 2017 and in 2013, he sold the deputy president then, our current president, Ruto. He sold him totally to the hearts of the people of Mount Kenya, that now coming to again tell the people of Mount Kenya that this guy is not the right person was an uphill task for him. That is what happened in 2022. It became so hard now to come and tell the people of Mount Kenya that now the person that I've been telling you will take over from me is not a good person. Not that the people of Mount Kenya have not embraced Raila Odinga. The people of Mount Kenya have embraced Raila Odinga, only that now the promise and the hopes of the people of Mount Kenya had been set on Ruto, on President Ruto now, by the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. Now the people of Mount Kenya have their hearts warmed up for Raila. You've seen the politicians from Mount Kenya region have openly endorsed Raila Odinga in the position of the AU chairmanship.
Yeah.
They have openly done that. Not that it is not acceptable to the people of Mount Kenya.
Could it be directions from State House for them to do that?
I don't think that is the case. It is not the case, because I've always insisted, Cynthia, as Kenyans, we are not united here in Kenya, but in global matters, we all come together for a Kenyan. And we've seen that not once, not twice, severally. We all put aside our differences, and when one of us wants something international or gets something international, we put our differences aside, and then we come together for the sake of that one person. We are first Kenyans before we become anything else. Therefore, you see, you ask whether it is a directive from the State House. No, it is not. It is I'm sure every Kenyan, including myself, we all want our former premier to be the chair of the AU. Yes.
Right. So as we conclude this first part of the conversation, what happens if Odinga fails to secure this bid? Does it taint more, you know, the relation, or will it taint this new developing relationship between these two leaders if he fails? And then on the other side, if he succeeds, what happens next?
Let us begin with if he fails. What happens if he fails? He comes back to the local politics. Yeah. That is where you've seen the president with the shuttle diplomacy. If he's sending a person here and another one there and another one there, he wants to make sure that Raila does not come back to the national politics, because if he fails, there's only one option left for the former premier, and that is to come back to the national politics, something that I'm sure that the president is so much willing to avoid come 2027. That's why he must support and make sure that he has sent the shuttle diplomacy as we have seen. We've seen him dispatch Mudavadi to talk to several presidents. We've seen in every country in Africa, the ambassadors are doing the same job of lobbying for Raila Odinga. Now, if he fails, he comes back to the national politics. And that would not be good for the president, because I'm sure come 2027, no matter what happens, Raila cannot support Ruto. Raila will not support Ruto, because in that case, then Raila will be viewed as a person who cannot be trusted politically. But now, if he wins, it is a win for the president.
Right. You say he cannot be trusted politically, yet the pictures that came out last week,
yes,
and the sense you'd get from Kenyans, the feeling you'd largely get from Kenyans was a sense of betrayal.
What I'm saying is that, not that Raila cannot be trusted. I've said, if Raila then supports Ruto's bid in 2027, then it becomes an issue of you cannot be trusted. I have always put my trust behind you. I have always supported you. That is Kalonzo speaking, and several of his supporters. Then they will paint Raila as a person who cannot be trusted. But should Raila win the AU chairmanship, it will be a very good, a positive card for the president, William Ruto. It definitely, that will affect the local politics, because Raila will not now have a lot of time to come back to the country and deal with the politics of the nation, being that now you have to deal with the intricate politics of the entire continent of Africa. Right. I see, if he wins, I see him not coming back to the scene of the local politics.
Now the opposition factor, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, the two key leaders whose name has popped up as persons that may be interested in running for the top job in 2027, and the likes of, Hassan Joho, could be more names that will crop up eventually. For the opposition, what does this mean? Because they've got that sense around 2018 and what happened post the handshake period, and they say, none was aware that there were talks between the then President Uhuru Kenyatta and, opposition leader Raila Odinga. It was just something that we saw at the steps of Arambe House one sunny morning. So for the opposition, what does this mean? Does it further cement the cracks within Azimio coalition? What would you picture as the mood and the tone around the opposition camp at the moment?
At the moment, the opposition camp is divided in its unity.
Yeah.
It's divided in its unity. The unity part is that you saw the running mate, the former running mate of Raila Odinga, that is Martha Karua. She openly said that we endorse our able former premier for the position of the AU chairmanship.
Right.
But beneath the voices that we are hearing, there are some words that have gone unsaid. For example, you've seen Kalonzo Musyoka saying that I am in a better position to run the opposition after the exit of Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
But we've seen Oparanya now come and say that now I'm the better person to succeed Raila Odinga. The politics of succession now will have kicked in the opposition camp, and we've seen in the fact that they support Raila Odinga and the fact that they have endorsed him both from the government and from the opposition. But within the opposition, we have worrying factors. Factors that have said, support me, I should now inherit, I should now succeed Raila Odinga. And we have others that have said, not this one. You've seen that some people have openly endorsed Oparanya. Others have said, we were waiting for Raila to speak. And others have said, Kalonzo Musyoka. And then we have Martha Karua in this case. But you've also seen that some people are trying to front Martha Karua as a possible opposition for the deputy president in the Mount Kenya region. So the opposition, in my opinion, is going to be affected if Raila wins the AU chairmanship.
If he wins.
If he wins. If he does not, then he will issue and give a direction on the way forward. But if he wins, I see Raila staying clear of the national politics. He will let them chart their way forward, and in charting their way forward, we will have a disjointed opposition.
That's interesting, because Odinga himself says he's not going anywhere, and that people should not take this as an opportunity that he's leaving Kenya, going to the continental politics. He won't be involved in local politics, but he says he will be there. And this is not just something he said, but it has also been echoed by other leaders, including the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna. Alego Usonga MP as well has said he's not going anywhere. Yes, he's going for that job, but he will still be active in local politics.
Do you expect Raila Odinga to say that I'm now out? That is something that is not going to happen. And at the same time, his supporters, and that is his supporters, majorly I mean the politicians, will not want a case in point where it would be perceived that Raila is out of the local politics.
Yeah.
They would not want such a case, because now they'll be left on themselves. They will be left to themselves. And now we shall have what we are seeing that is very evident. We shall have a division of the opposition. Raila must say that I'm not going anywhere. Actually, they've insisted that Addis Ababa and Nairobi is just a 1 to 2 hours flight They've insisted that.
Yeah.
But now we also need to understand that Raila is no longer going to be the factor in the local politics. Raila is, we are now going to lose the former premier to the continent, the politics of the continent. Now you see, it is not an easy job being the AU chair. It is not an easy job. He is going to be expected to be here, to be there, to be here, to be there. In that case, I don't see him very positively, or rather very positively involved in local politics. I see him taking over the mantle of the AU chairmanship and letting go of the local politics, though once in a while he will step in and say a word or two about the local politics. But I see him focusing totally on the continental politics,
right,
and his role as the AU chair. Yes.
All right, so let's shift this conversation to something that is making headlines on the Daily Nation. And Alice, if we could have that paper on screen, just to give context of basically what we are talking about, and that is inside the Senator's plan to corner county chiefs. That is on the Daily Nation newspaper headline. Now, inside the Senators to plan to corner county chiefs. And on accountability, the governors currently answer questions from senators through respective standing orders, but the senators are pushing to amend those particular standing orders that will now see governors answer questions directly to corner governors. And the lawmakers want governors to appear before plenary to answer questions about the devolved units. Now, at the moment, the only persons that will appear to answer questions about their departments are the cabinet secretaries, and that was a standing order that was amended, one of the things that was amended when the government got into office. Now, these new standing orders will have 4 parts, with 59A providing for the process by which a governor responds or provides information, while 59B will provide for the content of the information sought, which is not related to matters before the select committees on finance and public accounts. Part C will provide for responses to information requested by senators, while Part D will provide for action to be taken in the event of non-attendance by governors. Now, some of the governors that there are some of the governors that have really avoided, appearing before that particular house that particular house. And actually, recently, the county governor for Nairobi County was fined 500,000 shillings for having failed to appear before the Senate Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing. Now, it's not about the governors now appearing before select committees. It's now about them appearing before the House and answering questions from the senators. Now, Harold, one of the key mandates of the senators is to sort of protect the county governments, fight for funds for the county governments. They're basically a second voice of the county governments. Does this, further boost the accountability that governors, it's not just about you being the county boss, but it's also about what are you doing for this particular county? Have you used the funds correctly? Does it further boost accountability?
Cynthia, it depends on what side you want to look at it from. The first role of the Senate is to protect devolution.
Yeah.
That is the first role. Now, you see that they want to have the governors answer questions to them. That is very okay. That is very okay. But as I have said, it depends on where you want to look at it from. Because you've seen a majority of the senators now want to become governors.
Yeah.
A majority of the senators now want to become governors. Now you've seen, like, allow me to quote in this case. We've seen what is happening in Kiambu County. Who brought the issue of the Senate, the governors to answer to plenary? It was the senator for Kiambu.
Yeah.
And we've seen what is happening in Kiambu, the politics of the day, that the senator wants to be the governor. Now you see, looking at it from the point where the senator wants to be the governor, then it becomes a wrong approach, because they will take that opportunity as an opportunity to humiliate the governor, as an opportunity to show to the people of the said counties that the governor is not doing anything. But if you look at it from the accountability level, then I think that is the best way to go. where we can have the governor answer questions directly from the people who now supervise what is supposed to be doing, who now go out there and tell the government, I want you to add something for this for the county governments. It will be very right for the governors to go to the plenary of the Senate and answer questions from the senators direct instead of answering from the select committee. That would be right. But looking at it from the accountability point of it, not looking at it from the political point of it. Because if you look at it, the political point of it, we are going to have the governors, and the governors, I can assure you, will not go to the plenary. I can assure you, they will not go. But if you look at it from the political side, you've said yourself that the governors are willing to be fined rather than appear in the plenary, because we are going to have something called roasting. They are going to be roasted, and the senators are going to be willing to expose to the public of the said counties that the governor is not doing this, the governor is not doing that. But in the matters of accountability, the governors must be made to articulate and say these funds were allocated to me, and I've used it in this and this and this projects. With setting politics aside, I think it is the best way to go if we can only now be able to separate politics from accountability. If you are able to separate the two of them, then I'm sure it is the best way to go. We can have the senators asking legal, valid, and very good questions that the common Morniing cannot ask the governor.
Now that's an oversight role, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that something that should be left to the members of the county assembly, the MCAs?
That is where I was heading. The oversight of the spending of the governor has been left to the MCAs. Now we are going to have a push and pull also between the MCAs, who now want the governor to be accountable to them, and the Senate that now wants the governor to be also accountable to them. But I believe they should work concurrently and together, both the MCAs and the governors. The MCAs, you've seen actually they have said that is our work. You've seen the representatives say that. But what the Senate now wants to do is to take our responsibility and pin it upon themselves and do what we are supposed to be doing. The oversight of the county, of the counties and the governors majorly has been left by the Constitution to the members of the county assembly. They are the one to now audit and have the governor answer questions to them directly. And I think the MCAs are going to see this as their work being taken away from them, as their responsibility being taken away from them. Now they cannot ask the governor a question. The governor is going to answer to the Senate. So if you separate politics from accountability, I think both the county assembly, being now the watchdogs of the governor, have the right. But also, as the people who have been fighting, have been tasked the mandate and the responsibility to protect devolution by the Constitution of Kenya 2010, that is the senators, I think they also have a right to ask the governor, what have you done? What have you not done? What do you plan to do? And how do you plan to do it? I think it is right. Should we separate politics from accountability?
Right. Now, there's some of the county governments we are seeing strained relations between the governors and the senators themselves. For instance, Nakuru County, the Senator Tabitha Karanja says the governor is out to hinder her from doing her job. And, there has been a push and pull over some of the issues. We're also looking at Kiambu County, Senator Karungo Thangwa, and the Kiambu County Governor Kimani Wamatangi. Let's also talk about Nairobi County, as much as it's not very much public, but we know and understand that the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has really questioned some of the policies and moves that has been put up by the Governor Johnson Sakaja, to which he is constitutionally allowed to do that. But if you say politics play a role, does this mean it's because some of the counties are seeing strained relations between the senators and the governors, and the only ultimate solution would be to have them now come to the Senate and appear before the Senate?
Majorly, the reason as to why some counties, and you will see this come the year 2026, that's where politics are going to officially manifest. Majorly, the counties that we have the governor and the senator fighting, we are going to have the senator vying for the seat of the governor come the next election. majorly in those counties. I am sure I'm seeing a case in where our Nairobi senator will come in and vie for the governor of Nairobi come 2027. Now, I think, and I have said, if we separate politics from accountability, it is the right thing to do. If you cannot answer to me, then allow me to invite you to the fellow members of the House so that you can answer to them. That is the right way to go. But should we, and I'm insisting, should we separate politics from accountability? It is the right way to go. Now, we have seen the pull and push in Nakuru County. Majorly, there is a war that is going on behind the curtains. There's a war that is going on behind the curtains. Something that the Senate and the governor are not willing to disclose. But come the year 2027, and Cynthia, you will remember this. Come the year 2027, majorly of the counties that we are having wrangles between the governor and the senators will have the senators going for the governor's seat come 2027. That is not to say that I'm saying that we should exempt the governors from taking responsibility and being accountable for what they have done and what they have not done. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we should separate politics and accountability. In the matters of accountability, the matters of accountabilities, the senators are very right to demand that the governors answer their questions. Now, these questions, Cynthia, should not be answered in public barazas. No, they should be answered in the Senate committees set aside for the Senate to address themselves to the governors, and the governors to address themselves to the senators. I think it is right for the governors to answer to the plenary of the Senate. That would be the best way to go. We have senators that are outright. We have senators that articulate matters that affect the common Morniing. We have senators that will ask questions that are valid. If only we can separate politics from accountability, I think it is the right way to go, both for devolution and for the country.
Now, this plan basically corners county chiefs because recently, actually, according to one of the publishers of the Senate last week, they amended the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act of 2017 to increase the fine for failing to honor a summon from the current 500,000 shillings to 2 million bob. So if whoever will be set to appear before them fails to appear, then that fine has moved up to 2 million shilling. But who is to protect the county chiefs or the county bosses? Because basically this will put over a clash. The governors say this appearance does not benefit them, it only benefits the senators, because for them that they have done their role of oversighting and asking questions and getting that accountability. But who is to protect the county chiefs themselves?
The person to protect the county chiefs, the first person is the senator, according to the Constitution of Kenya. Now, that senator now wants to talk to the governor in plenary. You've seen what Makueni Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr. has said, that this plenary sitting is good, but it's only good for the senators. That might have some truth in it, but it is not the whole truth in it. The plenary is good for the senators, yes, but it's also good for the common Morniing, for them to find out what is happening. Now, the person to protect the county chiefs are now going to be the courts. Because if I see this, I feel disgruntled by my MCA, I should report to the senator who now cannot, who now happen now to question me. I see the court now. I see now the courts coming in and playing a very major role in protecting devolution. Should politics now take center stage over accountability in the issue of the governors versus the senators? The governors will be cornered both in the county assemblies and be cornered in the Senate. Now, the last option will be the courts. The courts will come in, and the courts have always pronounced themselves in the matters devolution.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Now, to close this broadcast this morning, Harun, let's cross over to something that as well has been making headlines, not just in Kenya, but also across the world, and that is to do with the Kenya Police Haiti mission, where Kenya is ready to deploy about 1,000 police officers to Haiti to restore peace and order. And this really is such a coincidental time to have this conversation because of now what is happening in Haiti. Last week we had the Prime Minister Ariel Henry in Kenya, and he says, he's very much open to welcoming Kenyan police officers to help restore peace and order there. But also, as he left Haiti, coming to Kenya, the gangs over there tried to take over the airport so that he's not allowed back into the country. But also the recent developments where, you know, we have prisoners who've broken out of prison and are now on the street. But at the same time, there's a court order that says no police officer should leave Kenya to head over to Haiti. How do you explain this quagmire where we have a court order, where we have a state that says we're ready to send officers, we have the Haiti nation that says we're ready to receive officers? What sort of quagmire are we looking at?
Cynthia, the issue of Haiti is a humanitarian crisis. In Kenya, the government has said that we're going to deploy 1,000 police officers. I think the only mistake that is in Kenya is because we want to deploy police officers. But if you look at the cry of the people of Haiti, yesterday night, the gangs led by their leader, there are about 300 gangs that have come together in Haiti now to decide to overthrow the government. Led by their leader. Yesterday, they attacked the biggest prison in Haiti and freed all the prisoners in that prison. Yeah. That is why we want to send our police officers. But if you look at the people of Haiti, they are crying for the international community to come in and help them. I believe it is right for us to deploy, but not to deploy police officers. We have countries that have also offered to help deploy. We have Benin. Benin has offered to deploy about 2,000 troops, not police officers, 2,000 troops from their military. We have Barbados has offered to deploy about 1,000. We have Jamaica. We have Chad also. We have countries that are willing to come to the rescue of the Haitians. But now our problem is that we have a court order that has said not do this, and we have a court order that has pronounced itself clearly that we should not send police. Then what do we do? Why can't we, if it is a must for us to deploy, to go and help, why can't we just deploy the military instead of deploying the police officers? The police officers are there to ensure law and order. Then you take them to a country that has no law and order. How do they ensure law and order? I believe in the Haitian issue is the issue that should have a military interception, not a police interception. Not the police. Because you've seen, now Port-au-Prince, that is the capital of Haiti, is now 95% controlled by the gangs. Now, looking at the case, when you talk about 95%, that means only 5% are left to the police. In Haiti, they only have about 9,000 police officers. That are, since the gangs taking over, the New York Times has reported that only now 3,000 are active from the 9,000 of them. We have 6,000 that are not active. Now, you have to deploy 1,000 police officers in a nation that has 11 million civilians. 11 million civilians. We have to send in 1,000 police officers. That's too little. We have countries that have offered to help. Let us not send in the police. That country is in dire need of help. But let us not sending the police. Let us not sending the police. We have countries that have offered to sending military for the single purpose of crushing the gangs, not restoring peace and order. The work of law and order is for the police to maintain law and order. Maintain is the word. Maintain, not restore. When we have peace and order, then the police are certain to come and protect us from having lawlessness. Now I would really wish for the people of Haiti to be helped, both by international community, both by everyone in the continent, because the children are dying. We have people that are dying day in, day out. We have seen the guns go on rampage. Set free prisoners. That is not a country that you can send in police. But Cynthia, and you look at it, the Americans have pronounced themselves. We are not sending boots on the ground. But it is now time for the international community to come in and help, but not sending police. I wish our president would. It is a good cause. It is an honorable cause to go in and help the people that are crying so much for help. But let us not deploy police officers. If we must deploy, let us deploy the army to go there and maybe restore peace and order. We have countries that are supporting. This mission, by the way, is led by Kenya. The mission to restore peace and order in Haiti is led by Kenya. We have Benin that has offered to sending 2,000 troops. We have Bangladesh that has also offered to sending troops. We have Barbados. We have Chad. We have, I think it is Bahrain that has offered also to send in forces. Let us send in forces to go and rescue the people of Haiti, but not police officers.
Right.
And the court has pronounced itself on that.
Right, and you know, as much as it's a humanitarian gesture, you know, Leon, we also have the legal aspect of it, because constitutionally, what the Constitution says, it's not supposed to, there not has to be a deployment of police service outside Kenya, and the deployment of police officers or the forces outside Kenya is a matter of great interest and importance and can only be done in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. We have an Attorney General in office, that is Justin Muturi. As you've said, you know, there's a difference between the military and the police. Shouldn't have the Attorney General then now advise, because he's basically the legal advice of the government, would he not have advised, you know, perhaps let us not do police officers, let us do military, or at least the KDF forces? Isn't this something that he should have probably envisaged, that this would have been blocked by the courts because the courts say it's unconstitutional?
It is unconstitutional. That is the first case. And I wonder why the AG has not advised the government on it, because it is totally unconstitutional. You cannot deploy the police. However, military you can deploy according to the provision of the Constitution. What does the Constitution provide for? That the Parliament should give a go-ahead for the President to deploy military. Are you getting that? Not the courts. But the courts have pronounced them, because it is not constitutionally correct to deploy police.
Yeah.
Police can only be deployed here in Kenya, within the borders of Kenya. That's why you deploy police. Not outside Kenya, not outside the borders of this nation. It becomes unconstitutional. Whichever court you go to, as long as the court still follows the same constitution that we've all read, then it remains the fact that it is unconstitutional to send police to another country, to deploy police to another country. Cynthia, you've asked a very good question. Why can't the AG just advise the government this is wrong and not constitutionally accepted? That is the question that only the AG can answer. Why is not doing that? Because it is not constitutionally accepted. You cannot deploy police. You cannot send in police now on an international mission, because that is a mission. That is an international mission.
Yeah.
You cannot deploy police. The AG should now come in. If he has not done that, he should now come in and say, Mr. President, sir, this is what should be done in accordance to the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. For you to deploy police, I don't think there's a provision that provides that you can deploy police outside Kenya. There is none. But military, yes, you can deploy. At the approval of the Parliament, you can deploy military. You can do that. And the other challenge that, Cynthia, that is there, you realize that in Haiti, only 15% of the population can converse in English, communicate in English. In a nation of about 11 million, we're talking about 2 million people speaking in English. And we have our police officers that cannot speak in French. So what will happen? How are they well equipped to go and communicate with the people they're going to protect? Are they able to do that? I don't know whether there is a capacity building that has been done on them to equip them on that challenge, because of all the things, language barrier is always the biggest barrier to any mission. If you cannot speak to me, I cannot speak to you, how can we understand each other? How can I tell you that I'm here to protect you? How can I tell you that I'm here to restore peace and order if I cannot tell you that, if you cannot understand that? I believe this is a mission, these are deployment that should have been well prepared for. It's a mission that you've taken out of the blues. It is true that the people of Haiti needs help. The Haitians are in dire need of help. You've seen the UNICEF has reported that at least 200 children are dying a day. 200. That's a very huge number for us to lose.
Yeah.
But we should also look at the as other countries that are Franco-speaking countries. They should also be in the first line to send their militaries and their police who can communicate well with the Haitians. The 15% that we have majorly is found in the capital.
Right.
Now the capital is run by who? By the gangs. That means even the 15% that we want to go and the one that we can comfortably communicate to, we cannot access them.
Right.
It is an issue that is very emotional. It's an issue that is very sad, but it's an issue that must be reasoned with soberly.
All right.
Soberly.
Right. Now, Harun, we're out of time, so perhaps a few seconds for you to wrap it up on just basically where we are as a nation, the state of it in a few seconds.
As a nation, I believe we are heading in the right direction. We have come together for the former Premier, Raila Odinga, and how I pray as a nation. How I pray as a nation that we support him, and how I pray, and I know this is the prayer of almost all the Kenyans, that Raila gets that AU chairmanship, so that at least Kenya can be put in the global rank. We are a good country, and we are heading far as a nation. But how I also look at the issue of the senators and the governors. Let them come together. Let us stop the fights between the senators and the governors, so that we can ensure devolution works successfully. Because the sole purpose of the devolution was to bring service to the people. And service to the people cannot be achieved if we have the senators and the governors fighting every now and then. How I advise the governors and the senators. Let us have a sober conversation. Let us put politics aside. 2027 is coming. We are going to have an election. But until then, let us postpone the politics until then. Let us focus on service delivery to the people of Kenya.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leon Harun, who's a political analyst, for coming in this morning to shed light over various issues that we've discussed, over the fears over Raila-Ruto relations. We're also looking at the senators' plan to corner county chiefs. They are pushing to amend the standing orders to have county governors appear before the Senate to answer to questions and not before the Senate committee. And also on the Haiti police mission, the Kenya Haiti police mission, Kenya says it's ready to deploy 1,000 police officers, but there's a court order in place. And also at the war on Haiti, where we're having cases of violence and different issues that are arising on a day-to-day basis. So in case you've missed this broadcast, you can rewatch it across our social media platforms on EBN TV. Keep the conversation going, keep the feedback, the thoughts coming in, and we'll be glad to sample them or at least to engage with you throughout the day. So thank you very much for watching. This is Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala. Do enjoy the rest of your broadcast.